Today's lead sponsor is Middle Tennessee Detail Service. These guys are the best. They're located at 1268 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. You can find them at mid10ds21. So that is at MID10DS21 on Instagram, and Middle Tennessee Detail Service on Facebook. They clean my huge truck. I take it to them once a week. They hand wash inside and out. They know how to cater to ceramic coating, anything else. They'll square you away and make your vehicles look top notch for a really killer price. Like I said, they're located off Northwest Broad, right next to Crunch Fitness. Definitely check them out. Thanks. I can never get, dude, every episode, if you listen to it, I fuck up the intro. I can't even say, half the time I don't even say Relentless Pursuit correct. And I have to like start over.
This is CC's Pizza Pursuit.
That's what it sounds like.
Key Lime Pursuit.
Key Lime Pursuit. Oh, I think that might be a spinoff. I'm telling you, man, Key Lime Pie King is coming.
Dude, you're gonna take over the internet.
That's the plan. You're joining me. You're gonna walk out on your fights with the key lime pie.
I've already told people that, like, about my diet. I'm like, dude, I eat macaroni and cheese and key lime pie, and they're like, how? I'm like, just complete disregard for your body. Easy.
Simple.
Yeah.
I love it. It's weird because it's been warm here, which is like this time of year is just insane.
What is warm for Tennessee? Like 12, 13 degrees Fahrenheit?
No, it's been like the high 60s this week, which is warm for this time of year.
What is 60 degrees Celsius? Is that like 20, 30
Straight
degrees?
bullets.
No, that'd be like 100-something degrees.
Well, I don't know veterinarian science, so I just know it's cold up here.
Science.
There's icebergs, polar bears.
Yes, dude. I almost hit one earlier.
I saw one.
The saber-toothed tiger was out. It was crazy, dude. Yeah. It was insane. That's what happens here, man. We're in the great north of Tennessee.
Just like woolly mammoth and stuff. Like what? Like that would fuck up your truck.
It's just like,
right?
That would be unfortunate.
It just launches my truck through the fucking front door.
Yeah, and I'm just concerned because I know how much you like Gravedigger.
Yeah, that's my baby. My baby. All right, ready to roll? What's up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. Ooh, it came out smooth. It's because it's like I'm not first thing in the morning, like fucking freaking out. Today, of course, we have my wonderful co-host and producer, Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 LLC in the house. He's always here making it happen. I couldn't do it without him.
I never know what to do when you point at me, so I don't always just do random shit with my hands.
Yeah, right? They're always like, oh, shit, what's up, good? Throwing up gang signs and shit. You get someone watching the podcast, they're like,
what's good, bro?
They want to fucking fight. Where's this HQ at?
Like, that's my fucking gang, dude.
They like do a shoot of the drive-by on our HQ. We're like, yo, dude, we don't even know.
I can tell how this is going to go.
Yeah. And also, we got a wonderful guest here today. My brother and RP athlete, fighter, bare-knuckle fighter, professional, Brett Williams is in the house. Yes, dude. So good to have you here. Brett is, so he and I are in a tribe together, like a Indo-European pagan tribe, the Hari, and we're oathed in together. So we've been really connected. I mean, I oathed in with everybody in January, but, Brett and I go back, since 2018 when we first met, like a month before my accident. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And out in Virginia. And, we've been connected ever since. And just over the years, it's got a lot closer. And then now, like, we're brothers, man. Yeah. And so we're stuck together for life. And I'm honored to have him in my life. And he's also been a part of Relentless Pursuit since the beginning.
Yep, very beginning. Yeah,
I sponsored him. I saw his fucking work ethic, and I was like, man, this guy's driven. He's going to achieve his goals, and he's done everything and more. So, Brett, just introduce yourself real quick, and we'll get started. Just tell people who you are, and we'll get going.
So, thank y'all for having me. I've been stoked to actually do this and get on this podcast in particular because, for one, you're my brother, and then like what the brand represents, and I think that my story's definitely eccentric, and it's very different than others, but it definitely pertains to the Relentless Pursuit message.
And eccentric like that, I mean, that's you.
Yeah, I mean, just I can be a bit paradoxical at times too. I'm an odd character, but I'm me, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to play anyone else other than just being me.
Of course.
And some weirdos think it's kind of cool. So
I love it, man. You're authentic as fuck.
I mean, my body is what you love.
Hey, save that for Moot tomorrow, okay? Don't be telling me.
I was literally just about to be like, yeah, dude, I really wanted to meet you too, and like I'm super excited, and then as it was coming out of my mouth, he's like, "You just want me for my body."
So what's funny is the first time I met Brett, we were out in Virginia, and we had this big ritual weekend out there, and we had to run down this hill and back up this hill. And I remember Brett like running next to him, and he was in cowboy boots. He didn't bring like running shoes. I'm like, hell yeah. Okay. And then we didn't speak much. And then later that night after ritual and shit, there was this big like black metal, death metal concert in the woods. And I'm just standing there drinking beer, and Brett comes up and he just puts his arm around me. He's like, you know, you're a sexy motherfucker. You're almost as sexy as me. And I was like, hell yeah. So
that was like the second time y'all had.
Yeah, that's like our first like words together was him
so
complimenting my
funny.
looks. And I was like, well, he knows.
That's awesome.
And
He knows
then-
the way to your heart.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I want to know this guy. Like he likes how I look, you know?
Well,
No.
You don't have to say what happened after that because I think it's a little too explicit for the.
I got my tent
for
and
the
it was
YouTube
fucking,
for the YouTube audience.
I got my wet tent and fucking almost died. And it was pouring rain. Remember that?
yeah, dude, that's
Yeah.
fucking
And
brutal.
I had to ride my motorcycle back. But,
I remember, so what it was is like, you know, I feel energy and from certain people, and I'm one of them people that, like I said, a bit odd, but I also consider myself like a light bringer. Like I want to uplift the mood in the room. And even like when I'm having a shitty day or like my anxiety's fucking killing me, I don't want that to affect others. So I like try to be slick and roll with punches and still try to give off good energy. And instantly I could tell that from you. And I was like, damn, this dude's handsome. Like he's tall, jacked, you know, he's tatted up. He's fucking takes care of himself. Oh, he's got a great beard too. Oh, fuck. And he has long, God damn it, dude. I thought that I was the sexiest man on earth. And I am. And I hate to, you know, I looked at this guy and I was like, damn, dude, he's almost as good looking as me. But I should probably go, you know, fuck with this dude. But it not just because you're like the second best looking guy, but you're a light bringer too.
Yeah,
you're
dude.
kind. And the thing about both of us, right, is I know firsthand because we have bare knuckle fought each other, but you're not like, you're a killer in your own right, but you don't go around imposing that aura on people, right?
No.
Like I'm a bad motherfucker. Like, and I hate that shit in the fighting community, but
there's the aesthetic, right, that people may think, but like even then people can pick up on just like by looking you in the eyes that you're kind, you know,
Yeah,
or like how
yeah.
you speak to them, and they automatically don't feel that threatened. They don't feel that present. They may look at you and see, oh, big tattoos, mohawk, right?
yeah.
But then they talk to you once and they're like, wait, this is a really kind, good-hearted person.
Yeah.
But they also know what you're capable of if they've seen it, right? So
Yeah. Which, you know, you like myself, I try to be the same way, which I've gotten a little more jaded the more I've gotten in the fight game because people just fucking suck. But like when it comes to people that aren't in fighting, like I try not to even bring up the fact that I'm a fucking fighter because like why? You know what I mean? As far as like there's so much more to me than just being a fighter.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no problem being kind and bringing light in this world. And you're the same way.
Yeah.
And you know, not a lot of dudes that are capable of fucking knocking heads, you know, that are pretty tough. They, you know, usually try to like mog others and like have this
abuse
tough
it.
guy persona. Yeah. And it ain't cool.
Yeah.
No one cares, dude.
Yeah.
It's not the 1990s. Like,
Right.
no one cares.
well,
It's also
not-
like bullying too. I mean, not to like make it a very simple term, but like it's like we talked about with the certain individual before who's really big and never picked a fight with somebody his size. It's like you don't. It's not cool to beat up on somebody who doesn't fight. Like
No,
you know,
no,
so, like,
it's definitely in me, like being an actual professional fighter, not like that's absolutely true, but it's also not cool for me to just like bombard you with shit about fighting. Like, you know, if you ask
Right.
me, I'll be like, yeah, I'll tell you, like, I'll do this, yada, yada, but I'm not gonna like impose my will. Like when I first saw you, I'm like, I'm Brett, the Widowmaker. You know, they call me the Widowmaker, right? You know, and no one fucking cares, dude. Like, there's so much more to life.
for the record, whenever I was saying, which I have been super excited to beat you. I've told him that quite a few times, and just seeing you from afar. But I told him the Widowmaker's got to be the coolest nickname for a fighter I've ever heard, and I'm not kidding you at all. Like it's like I have to say I can't think of another one because a lot of them that are cool, like the Terminator or some shit like that. It's like yeah, it sounds cool, but it's not like that's not original at all, and it's you know. But the Widowmaker, I don't think I've ever heard that before, and it's such an intimidating nickname. It's like and I told him the other day, I'm like, wait, the what? Like he
Well,
wants to whittle my wife? That sounds pretty like
The best part about it is like how he acts though. He doesn't act like he's the
100%.
Widowmaker.
Right.
Yeah.
Like his vibe is super like cheerful and like you said, you're a light bringer, right? So you put that off, but then it's like, oh, it's a Widowmaker? What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah, I know. Where
It's
does that come from? Because I'm actually like pretty
Trickery.
lazy. I'm like a sloth too. So I'm like, unless it's like something I need to get done. But yeah, that nickname, I mean, it came from Ulfheim.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I got that name. But yeah, there's only there's a fighter like reference center. If you're ever like looking up fighters or records, which they don't have 9 out of fucking, no, they don't. 9 times out of 10, they don't have all the shit on there. They don't have hardly shit on me on there, but they do have a few fights. And you look up like Joseph Brett Williams or whatever on BoxRec or Tapology, and you can see people's nicknames and stuff. But there's only like 3 fighters on Earth that have the Widowmaker nickname, and 2 of them are like in Eastern Europe.
That's
so
awesome.
I was like, yeah, that is super
awesome.
original, because usually it's like
Oh my God.
Beast,
Yeah.
or Meat Wagon, or Thunder Dick, or it's like
Thunder Dick.
what does that even mean, dude?
even some of them that seem like they're original, like they're then like I don't know. There's been a few that I've seen. It's like, oh, that's a pretty, and then you see another person, another person, another person. It's like, damn, there's a lot of people with that nickname.
Yeah. Shoot, even if I was getting in the ring, I'd keep Sweet Pea.
Yeah,
Just because it's
perfect.
not threatening, but it just throws people
Yeah,
off. Like, what the
exactly.
fuck? So it's confusing, It's like a big guy they call tiny, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
that's how that works.
Like a 7-foot dude. They're like, yeah, that's tiny over there. It's like, no, it's not.
I need a couch move. Can we call Tiny? And it's like,
That's funny.
okay.
Why would, yeah.
But we do get to a story, but I did want to say about the last thing about that. We talk about like balance on here all the time, and one of the phrases or I guess analogies that we bring up a lot is about the warrior in the garden, right? It's like you'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So just to your point, like you go out there and do your gardening, but if it were, war were to be called war, you also have that. It's a good
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready for battle. Always capable. I love it, man. Well, without getting, further along with all that, Rhett, I know you very well. But most of the listeners don't. They don't know who you are. You're mysterious. They see you fighting. They see what you're about on there. But, one thing that I always find interesting, I guess, is their background, like where you from. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your upbringing a little bit, because that's a huge piece of who you are today. So
Yeah.
I think it's always good to share that. And, that's relatable for a lot of people as well. So, yeah, just go bring it back, man. Talk about your upbringing, your life story a little bit, go into as much detail as you want to, and then we'll move on to some other things.
So, I have a really, 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 really odd upbringing. And it started in this little bitty tiny town called Chumuckla, Florida, which is in Northwest Florida, kind of close to Alabama state line. And my grandma, she was like a staple person in my life. Like the main woman that I remember from my very early childhood. And my mom and my dad weren't married. And my mom was working, I think. It's very blurry, but I remember my Nana being there like all the time up to a certain point. And then I moved from Chumuckla, or I wasn't staying with my grandma anymore, and I started staying with my mom, and we stayed in a few places in Pensacola that were pretty rough. And interesting enough, like my stepfather, he was a black gentleman, and I have 2 brothers that are also biracial on my mother's side, and we stayed in some places where I was an extreme minority. And I didn't realize it at the time because kids don't understand that or grasp it.
They're innocent.
Yeah. And then my mom wanted to get out of that environment. So we moved to Pace, which is a nice area compared to like Pensacola where we were at. And we lived in a little trailer out there, and I really don't remember a lot. Like a lot of shit in my childhood just comes in waves. And
You maybe you tried over the years just to like blur it out.
well, that's what a lot of psychiatrists have said. You know what I mean? Because it's like
Trauma fog, right?
yeah. Well, they want to talk about like, well, you need to address things that happen in your childhood. I'm like, I don't remember.
I feel you on that. I really do feel you on
You
that.
know, so it's like, even if I wanted to, I couldn't.
It's like little snapshots.
Yeah, that's exactly the same way it is for me. And then like, I'll have nightmares of situations like that relive, you know, different sections of my childhood. But we moved into another trailer in a pretty rough neighborhood in Pace. Probably it's the roughest neighborhood in this little town. And it was interesting. So around middle school, I guess would be around the same time. My mom didn't want me and my brothers hanging out with people in the neighborhood. They were the rough kids in school.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them, their parents weren't taking care of them at all. And my mom did her absolute fucking best for me and my two brothers. And also at this time, I think I was around 6 or 7 that I met my dad and my stepmom, who became huge parts of my life. Well, all of this is
Good old Joey.
Yeah.
Shout out to
I
Joey.
have to send this to my dad. It'll take him like 20 minutes. I got to figure out how to listen to this.
So I'm just trying to keep it my line there. So you said you didn't meet your dad until when?
I was like 6 or 7.
Okay. And you were living with your mom before that?
Yeah, I was living with my mom, and then I would go see my dad on the weekends. Now, my dad did see me here and there, but I just don't remember it. Now, I have very vivid memories of my dad when I first met him because I didn't have like the best father figure in my current situation. And then, you know, my biological father comes around and he's like huge, jacked, blonde haired, blonde bearded, you know, scary guy. He's real intense. He's got a short temper and, you know, zero patience. But he's very humorous too, but he was terrifying to me. And my dad was like the who's who. My dad was one of the best pitchers to ever come out of our area. And now our area is renowned for fucking just sports in general, fighting, football, and baseball. And my dad was like the who's who, like fixing to make millions. He was top of the line athlete, and he got into a car wreck, which like sheared off half my dad's leg. So my dad, one of his calves are like monstrous, and then the other one's like, you know, a quarter of the size.
Damn.
So he couldn't pitch anymore. And like, from what I heard is like, you know, my dad got helped a lot through school because he was who's who. He's the stud. You know, he's going to the MLB.
Yeah.
And so he didn't have much to fall back on. And I think that the details might be a little misconstrued, but I think my grandpa, his father, wouldn't let him even try to play baseball anymore. So, but I think that has a lot to do with like the way my dad is like, cause he deals with so much pain. But this was, you know, it's just hit or miss. I went to a few different schools. I was on medications that I shouldn't have been on, which I think like was not good for my head. I actually got expelled one time from public school because I was drawing graphic things, but like violent things. And where I'm at, it's like super deep rural South. So it's like, you know, everything is Jesus. And my grandma had like these collector books, and we lived super rural. So it was like the only thing I had to do was look at these collector books. Well, they had like mysterious stories about war and history, and this is what started my love for history. And it was like wars and battles and swords and, you know, indigenous Americans. And my mother's side of the family has indigenous blood in them. And, you know, my dad's side of the family, at the time, I didn't know about our ancestry. I just, you know, looked at like, okay, they must be of European descent. So knights and warriors. And I would draw them in school. Well, where I was going to school, they were like, this kid, all he does is draw like war and history. So they took me out of public school and I had to go see a psychiatrist, and they put me on ADHD medicine. And it's not what I needed. Like, no one asked me if I just thought this shit was cool.
Yeah, I was about to say that seems like a overreaction.
Yeah, it's crazy overreaction, but you know, the time and the place, it's like deep rural South. Like, there's something wrong with your kid. Let's put them on this. And it didn't help. Like when I was a kid, I was a silent kid. I didn't talk. You know, I was
like, who's the quiet kid drawing all this dark shit?
Yeah, I know.
Like, whoa.
But people,
it's still, I'm sorry, it's still unfortunate just as an adult to look back on it, knowing like how much of an overreaction that was, though. You know,
it really was just because of the medication and what I feel like it did to my brain at an early age. Well, so when I moved from Shamuckla Elementary, I moved to Pace. I went to, what was it? I think it was my 6th grade year. So I had a hard time fitting in because I didn't have really good social skills. I'm not the spontaneous, you know, butterfly that I am now. I was really odd. And then like I'm on this medication and I really just don't know how to associate with people. Well, of course that leads me into like my mom loved horror movies and hair metal. So she would buy me hair metal CDs. So at the time, I started out with like
Wasp and shit.
Well,
maybe not that, but
not quite Wasp, but it was Kiss, Dawkins, and then like
when was this? Like
it's 6th grade.
But like what? Like 2000s or
2004 or 5-ish. I was a freshman in 09. So
Gotcha.
I used my freshman year as like reference for everything.
yeah.
But Motley Crue, we went and saw Motley Crue a lot, and so I was real big on that kind of music. Well, in school, I started becoming friends with the kids that were wearing all black, the kids that got picked on, the goobers, right, the goth kids. So I was hanging out with them, and like that was my friend set. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to play music, and I want to learn how to play guitar. Now, nobody in my family is musically inclined. Nobody. And you've got my mom, who's a stud athlete, very good basketball player, and they all play basketball on that side of the family. My stepfather played college basketball. And then my father, being the amazing athlete he was, like 1 in a million, you know, there was no room for someone to learn how to play. And I got into like the whole, like, at this time, it was like Viva La Bam and Vans Warped Tour, and that was like my world at the time.
Yeah, I thought that all that shit was so cool, man. I went to Vans Warped Tour. My dad took me when I was a kid.
Really?
I was like 13. That was fucking badass, man.
I always wanted to go.
Yeah.
But, you know, huge fan of like, you know, those types of bands and stuff. And of course it obviously went from like Motley Crue to more of the type pop punk bands and like scene bands and stuff. And those were my friends. And then now, you know, we're listening to each other's music and stuff. And I'm friends with some of the kids in the neighborhood that are the goth kids. Well, in 7th grade, I got a guitar in 6th grade that my stepmom got for me for Christmas. And it didn't have an amp or anything. It was just a guitar from Walmart.
Yeah.
And like I said, no one in my family was musically inclined, so none of us know how to fucking do anything with it. So I would sit in the room and like fuck with it and fuck with it and fuck with it. And that was about it. Like I didn't have the internet. I didn't have a phone or anything. Like I didn't even have a book.
You didn't have any other resources to exceed.
But I'm like wearing fucking the skinny pants and stuff. Like that was cool. And like, and the whole scene thing and like painted my nails black. And I was just like,
I did that shit too, bro. I did too. I never.
Well, it's funny that now as fucking adults, we're just jacked goth guys. That's all we are. That's all we really fucking are.
It's kind of funny.
That just happened to be country as well. But, which the whole time, you know, I'm like from fucking rural BFE South. Like I'm still like through and through a hickbilly, like a mud squid. And that ain't never going to leave. Like that's just the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
But like, I'm all big into this whole scene or whatever, but I'll never forget it. Like I was all big into music. Well, I showed up with my nails painted black and my dad, he like lost it. My dad was like, no. We ain't doing this. Like, you know, that is queer shit. Like we ain't doing that. And, at that point, my dad, you know, he shamed me, but it's not like, oh God, that's so bad. Cause it changes my whole life.
Yeah.
And from that moment, and my stepmom's sister was taking up for me. She was, you know, she's harder left leaning, and she was like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's a phase. You know, Brett goes through a lot of phases. All little kids or all young men go through phases. And my dad is like, I'm putting you in football. You want to play football? And I played football a little bit when I was younger, but I hated that shit.
Yeah.
I did not care for sports. I was not like my dad at the time. Well, 7th grade, I remember I felt awkward because all the kids at Pace, the town that I was in was a really rich town. So a lot of my friends had a lot of money. And I wasn't as well off as they were, nowhere near. But I remember showing up to practice, and it's like the first day, and I'm like awkward. These kids have been playing ball since like Pee-wee, and I haven't.
Yeah.
And I was just awkward. Everything I did was awkward. I just looked different than all the other kids. Well, I think it was when we officially, or what we started doing is like speed test. My dad was always helping and coaching. We would do like speed test and like 40-yard dash and who's the fastest and who would do the most push-ups, whatever. Well, I'm starting to look around and I'm like, wow, I'm faster than these kids. And then I'm like, oh, I'm stronger than these kids. And then we
It's
go
like an awakening. You're like,
not quite, but there's something going on.
You
there.
recognize something. Like, you're like, man, maybe I don't know. I've got an advantage.
Well, I was just like, I don't understand. Like, these kids have been playing forever. Like, I'm just like more gifted than these kids at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we get pads on. And the next thing you know, like, I went from not being able to walk in a straight line to I like start hurting kids. And I think it was the first scrimmage we had, and I hit our running back. I blow through the fucking offensive line. I think I was playing linebacker. I just blow through the offensive line and just nail our running back. And it's just, to me, it's not a big deal. It's just like, oh, well, my dad is fucking ecstatic. It's like the happiest I've ever seen my dad.
That's my boy.
Well, he's just fucking stoked.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm like, oh shit. And then people on the team, all the cool kids in school are like giving me attention and like, hey man, good job. And I'm like, all I've got to do is wreck people in sports. And this is what's going to give me like gratification. And at this time, it's like, fuck trying to be a fucking goth rock star. Like, I want to play sports.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, I remember I was starting on the team. I started that year, I think it was offensive line and defensive line. And I was just wrecking house. And I like started like slowly trying to get my like goth clothes away and like trying to dress like the other kids in school. And then that went through a whole year of that. And then 8th grade is like, I'm that fucking dude. Like, I'm a fucking killer. And I'm, one of the best on the team. Like, even the like highlights of the DVDs we used to have, like, I was a stud at outside linebacker. Now, I was still awkward. Like, I didn't move like the other kids, but I made shit happen.
Yeah.
I was just, and then, doing the PE test in school, like, I could jump higher, jump longer. Like, I was just way more genetically gifted than all the other kids. And 8th grade, I kind of, stuck with that, kept doing the whole thing. And then I got into a little bit of trouble, and it kind of put a damper on my sports for a hair. And then right back in 9th grade, I got back into football, but I wasn't as plugged into the community. It's like a real, like, you got to know somebody. And, at the time, the position I played, the guy that was ahead of me was Addison Russell, who was like, got drafted to MLB. He was a fucking, like, the greatest athlete to ever come out of our school. Like, so
you were competing with him.
Yeah. So it's like, I wasn't going to start, over Addison. Like, I was very genetically gifted, but he is a multi-million-dollar athlete. So, like, he's upper echelon, plays for the Cubs, played for the Cubs. I don't know what the hell he's doing now, but.
Not to cut you off real quick, but we got about a minute until the cameras are going to cut off.
All right. So we'll stop at the Addison. We'll stop at that 9th grade transition. As always, this episode, As always.
The regular intro. God damn it, Joe.
Dude, we just need so Lydia said, like, and she made a good point. We need to get like a blooper reel of all the podcasts and just like a long ass one of like just all this funny shit. Oh, this is where Joe just fucked up saying his own brand. He can't even say his name.
I usually keep it in, honestly.
All right. As always, this episode is brought to you by Relentless Pursuit. You can find us at relentlesspursuitlifestyle.com. at Relentless underscore pursuit on Instagram. Fuck, now I'm gonna keep jacking it up. And Relentless Pursuit underscore HQ on Instagram as well to follow up with all the headquarters stuff. And please check out this podcast on every platform. Like, share, review, and subscribe. Let's get it out there. Let's keep it growing. We're crushing it, and we couldn't do it without y'all support. And now I want to pass it on to Brett, and he's going to tell you where you can find him.
Hey, definitely check me out on Facebook. It's Brett Williams, but if you look at the pictures, you'll see like there's obviously only like one of me. It's fighting stuff. And then on Instagram, it's Brett_Williams, but it's WILLYUMZ. And definitely check me out to keep up with all my aesthetics and all my spontaneous posts. But I should be fighting in Pensacola in early February or somewhere else, but sometime around then I should be fighting again, gloved or bare knuckle.
Oh yeah. Back at it, bro. All right, back at you, man. So high school, trying to like compete with this stud athlete, moving forward from that.
So what happens is I wanted to go, because I played basketball in middle school and I was awkward, but I was very violent, very good defensive player, but
there's a theme here.
Violence. It all comes around. Well, I wanted to go play for the basketball team, like last second. So I went with a couple of guys and we went and saw the basketball coach and was like, the basketball tryouts were already over with. And I was like, hey, we all played and Little League, you already know who we are. And he's like, I don't have room on the team. Like y'all should have went to tryouts. And we were like, what the fuck, dude? Like we want to do this. You can't plug us in. He's like, no, I can't. And so what happened is I decided to try wrestling. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know
Game
anything.
changer right there.
Yeah, what it was. And our coach was Coach Shaw. Well, I wanted to try wrestling, and this is before I knew anything else. So it was weird because my mom and dad were like, what the fuck is this? And wrestling where I was at was...
You're like, yo, I get to roll around with dudes naked?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what I always wanted to do.
Yeah, you think you didn't like the golf phase. Wait till you heard about that.
Yeah, wait till you hear about this. Well, my freshman year was one of my best years. But I remember we would just condition for hours. And it was the most difficult thing physically and mentally I've ever experienced. So I played football for quite a while, did basketball, and neither of these sports even like was 10% of what we were doing in wrestling.
Yeah.
And wrestlers, there was like 7 people on the team, but there'd be fucking 100 freshmen playing football at my school. It was a big football town, big football school. And it'd be like 7 wrestlers. And we barely could scrape by just to get matches. We got no funding from the school, but in a way it was a way for me to like impose my will on someone else. And I just enjoyed that. I enjoyed like breaking people. It was a different outlet for me. Well, in 10th grade, I went through my freshman year. I did really well. And my sophomore year is when I had like one of my best years in wrestling, but shit got fucky. My dad and my stepmother split up and shit was, not good at my house. I was in a really bad mental place. And at the time I didn't know that I was suffering from like crazy mental illness. I didn't know what that was. No one knew what the fuck that was at the time. I just had a psychiatrist saying like, oh, he needs more medicine. He needs more Vyvanse. He needs more Vyvanse. And it's like, no, I don't. I need something other than that. But she's just fucking all falling apart. And I ended up quitting football. And I was like, I'm just going to focus fully on wrestling. And it helped me out. But I started hanging out with different kids in school, the bad kids. They were, seniors and juniors and, they were smoking weed and I got into smoking weed and next thing you know, I started like doing harder stuff and like drinking. And at the time I'm still fucking people up. But also at this time, the UFC like becomes a thing and people like are all wanting to get into MMA fighting. Well, I'm the one that really spearheaded that. So people from my high school, and they'll love to hear this on the podcast. Like, I used to fight in the locker room, like with 4-ounce gloves, no hand wraps, in our fucking football locker room, like fucking dudes up for like money. And they would all videotape it and shit.
How old were you at this time? Yes, I know you were talking about 10th grade. But
I was like 16.
So it was 10th grade
yeah.
when all this was? Okay.
I don't even think I knew this.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever told me this. Yeah.
Hey, that's what the podcast is for, baby.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I'm like fucking people up, dude. And I start getting renowned for like really fucking people up, and I realize when I'm watching this UFC shit is that wrestling is helping me with this. This is the reason I'm fucking people up. Like, I got power.
Yeah.
I don't know how to punch, but I'm fucking people up, and it's
like a real life fight club.
It really was. You know, it was really bad because I got fucked up severely a couple
I'm also
times.
thinking like 4-ounce gloves, no hand wraps. Like, a motherfucker's just walking back to class missing teeth and shit. Like,
it was pretty bad. So I remember this one guy. I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but Rodney Bag, dude, I'm sorry for what I did to you. I hip tossed him into a urinal and like busted his fucking face up super bad. There's another guy.
He hip tossed me one time. I didn't see him coming. Remember that? My hip was fucked up for like a month. I was like, you bastard.
Yeah, my bad on that. I don't know about Rodney, but I apologize for what I did to that. But
he said other dude can fuck himself, but I feel bad.
There's this other guy. What the fuck is his name? I think his last name was Foreman. He was kind of a quiet, huge kid.
Oh, the guy with the grill?
No.
I was just thinking the same.
You went to school with him?
We were in a women's bathroom, like in between classes, and I choked him the fuck out. I almost knocked out this kid, Billy Art, and then I choked him the fuck out.
Can I ask why you were in a women's bathroom?
You know, if I had the answer to that, I'd tell you.
That's just where they ended up.
Yeah. And then I guess the two more memorable fights is one was with this guy like Tyler Nurnberg. He was like the best like street fighter around. And he was from the other rough neighborhood. I was from Florida Town. He was from Guernsey. And it was a huge fucking thing that me and him were going to fight. Like, he knocks dudes out. I'm mauling dudes to death. Like, we're the two best like street fighters in the school, fucking people up. And we ended up fighting, and it really wasn't what everyone expected it to be. There was like 100-something fucking people that were watching us fight. It was just a lot of leg kicks and some jabs, and then I took him down at the very end and hit him with some elbows that like detached his retina. But at the end, we were like, nobody knows shit about fighting at this time, but it's like, I clearly won that fight. And then they were like, well, it's a draw. Like, whatever the fuck that means. We're fighting in someone's backyard. There's pit bulls and cages right beside us. Like, people are dealing dope out of the house.
Dude, that's what I was about to ask you. So you had a lot of those fights in the bathroom, you were saying? And then
in school.
But then this one was like like Kimbo Slice.
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
And so I get renowned for fighting. But I'm also fucking around with shit I shouldn't be fucking around with. So my wrestling is not going where it should go because I'm starting to fuck around with drugs. And there is zero nutrition at this point. Like, I'm eating Cheetos and shit that people will buy for me at school. I had like the government assistance school lunches, but nobody fucking wants that shit. So, you know, I was super pretty boy too. So I'd get like these girls. I'd be like, hey, I'd give you attention if you help me get these snackies. And, you know, it kind of worked out like that. But my junior year, I get pretty bad off on like smoking weed and like starting smoking spice. That comes around, but I'm still like learning. I'm still wrestling. I'm like 130 pounds, still fighting, still that dude. And I don't know. I was like really depressed, but I didn't know what depression was. And I was in like some toxic relationships, but it's my own fault because I was trying to date like 3 girls. Like, one girl like fucked me over, and then it just like fucked up the rest of my relationships because I don't trust anybody. Right. Like, even to this day, like, I'm just like, are you really saying what you're doing? Mm-hmm. But so junior year kind of is all floppy. Me and my dad aren't talking because when him and my stepmom split up, he moved to like a bumfuck area near where I work today in a place called Beulah, or around that area. And we're not talking. And we don't talk for like probably a year and a half. And then my senior year, it's fucking rowdy. I'm not going to school. I'm drinking at school, fucking smoking all the time. Like, got multiple girlfriends, fucking just being a shitbag human being. Well, I wasn't going to graduate from PACE because I was credit short and I had to go to night school. So my mom kicked me out one day when I was taking up for my little brother Trey, and immediately regretted it. Immediately fucking regretted it because she wanted me to come back, but I never came back. And life was never the same after that. And I went and lived with my cousin Wyatt. It was fucking great. Wyatt's one of my best friends and my cousin. Well, it's all fun and games, but I wasn't going to night school. I was like hanging out with girls or like smoking weed, getting drunk, and just being a fucking shitbag. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to graduate. And at the time, like graduating from high school is a really fucking big deal, So what happens is my stepmother, her and my dad split. I was still really close to my stepmom. I was like, hey, I can go to the next county, and if I go to this other school, I'll be able to graduate. So with 6 months left in school, it wasn't the only reason. I was dating this girl, and she had like what they call like the sociopath eyes. This is another reason why, weird about relationships is that I'll never forget it. At the time, like she texted a friend of mine. I don't have a phone. She's like, hey, Brett, because I would have to use people's phones and shit.
To communicate, yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, hey, Brett, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm not going to that party, yada, yada, yada. And then I was like, all right, well, someone called my cousin Wyatt and was like, hey, this girl's here. Like, she's lying to Brett. And I show up at the party, and her car rolls up. She rolls down the window, and she's like, oh, hey. And I just had so much rage that I just, like, wanted to knock out her windshield. But Wyatt was like, no, man, no. And that fucked me up so bad. So that, on top of not being able to graduate, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to Cantonment and going to a different school. So for the last 6 months of school, I'll go to a whole fucking different school. And this school is like nothing like the school I went to. I went to the rich kid school. I went to the Luke Bryan school. And then I go to like the fucking Earl Dibbles Jr. school. Like these people.
Fucking Earl Dibbles Jr.
Yeah, I'm like.
If anybody knows what he's talking about, you get fucking brownie points.
The Hank 3 school.
Yeah, dude, it's so bad. Like, and what's crazy is like when I got there, people used to call me Turtle Man because instantly, like girls, there was this one girl. She was like, "Man, you're so hot. Like, you want to hang out?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then I ended up like dating her for a couple of weeks, but she introduced me to all kinds of other people. Well, one party we were at one night, we were partying on a riverbank, and I went fucking dove into the creek and I caught a turtle, which was normal because we would catch soft-shell turtle when we were kids and cook it and eat it. And people freaked the fuck out. They're like, "You fucking jumped in the damn river water and got a turtle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what do you mean?" They're like, "That is the most Bill Hilly shit." I'm like, No. Y'all are Bill Hillies. Yeah. I'm not. Catching turtles is normal with my hands. At least I thought.
Yeah.
So these people were fucking hicks to me, but they thought I was like a mega hick. And it was like a hick off. But we
This fucking guy.
I had a lot of fun at Tate, and I ended up being able to graduate and all that sort. Well, also a part of why my senior year was fucky. I got suspended by the Florida High School Athletic Association twice. And the second time I was no longer allowed to wrestle. So there was no chance of me like going to state, no chance of me like wrestling in college. And it was all over like, some shit with my brothers, like it wasn't even wrestling. It was like a JV thing, and they didn't shake my brother's hand. And me and my brothers were just like the worst tempers, worst patients of all time. Crazy to think I was completely different than I am now.
Yeah.
So we tried to fight the guy and the coach. That was a normal occurrence for us. Like we wouldn't fight grown ass men. Like fight the guy, fight his dad, fight the coach. But there's consequences for that in life. You can't just act like a fucking idiot and expect things to go in your favor. So
I heard Joe Rogan one time say that people that know the consequences of violence aren't the ones picking fights.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's why I avoid confrontation at all times, because I do not want to fuck with them them white people that wear the uniforms. I don't want to go to jail, dude.
Well, and that, I talked to y'all about my thing today, but I approach it from that kind of like honorable standpoint. Like I'm not running in there punching heads.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, do some underground bare knuckle fight. Like this can be an organized thing.
You fucking walked out in the square like it's the Wild West and challenged him to a duel.
Yeah,
no,
like,
that's the best way to do it. Because you weren't like losing your cool.
Yeah.
So that also happened my senior year. So why I'm not wrestling? I'm not doing any sports. Well, I ended up graduating, partying a lot. Well, I don't have anything fucking going for me. Like I have a pharmacy tech intern, but I don't want to fucking do that. Way too lazy. I just want to fucking party. That's all I want to do. Well, I get a job with my uncle in Pascagoula, Mississippi. He's working at a refinery. And I end up going over there. I don't have a car or anything. And start making a shit ton of money. And I start working on NCCERs, which are like national certifications for trades. And then I get certified in all this other stuff. And do that for quite a while, make a lot of money. And then there was an ROF layoff after Obama got in for the second time, I think, or was the time frame. Which it was just weird. Like half the fucking people at Chevron got laid off, and I was one of them, young kid. So I didn't have a job. So my dad told me he could get me a job where he worked at a place called Southern Erectors. And I would just be like, I'd work in a fab shop and do different shit. And I ended up working with my dad there. And at this time, I got into rodeo, which I already knew like how to ride saddle horses, like because I've always known how to ride saddle horses, and like, but I didn't know anything about like busting broncs or like bull riding or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I got up with these people that were in cantonment about riding bulls. They really weren't like, I couldn't spur broncs at the time, but it was just bull riding. And I got real big into that. And then I was like, fuck, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm not half bad. So I start doing it more often, and like traveling and so on and so forth. And that made up my life for quite a little while, but mine was bareback riding. I was spurring broncs, and that was a big part of my life. It gave me a lot of purpose. I was lifting weights, super shredded. I drove a Camaro. Like all my friends in high school had vehicles, like cool vehicles. I didn't have shit,
So you got your goddamn Camaro.
I got a Camaro.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was the coolest thing I ever wanted in my life.
Yeah.
And I got that motherfucker, but I could ride around and do rodeo, spur broncs. And at this time, me, my cousin, another guy, we were going to New Caney, Texas. And it was like basically like an opportunity to really like blow up my career in bareback riding. And I already rode 2 times that day. And they weren't great rides.
What's the competition for that? Like what would you may have said it a second ago, but for bareback riding, when you say you rode, what does that entail?
So like what I go through in a ride?
Yeah. Just like what is a ride, I guess.
Okay. So what you do is you get so they have a wild bronc and a big chute, and in bareback, there's a thing called a rigging, and it's like a suitcase handle that's really wide, and it's got latigos. It's got latigos and straps like that go on a saddle that go under, like right behind his front legs, and you essentially cinch it up with your latigos, and it makes the rigging tight. Well, I have this glove, and I put rosin in it, and make it sticky.
Yeah.
And you've got to stick it in a certain way, put your elbow down, take your fingers and peel them over, take your elbow and bring it back. And when you lock it back, you lock yourself in that. And I'm going to get away from the mic for just a second, but like you look like this, right? And I'm pinching the rigging, like my knees are together, and I've got spurs on my boots, and I'm leaning back like this because it's fixing to be a bunch of violent jerking. And when they open the chute, you nod your head, and they open the chute, and your horse will rear. He'll rear to, depending on which side of the chute you're on. Like all 3 of my rides, he reared to the left. So when he rears, when he goes to do his first buck, I've got to spur his neck, and that's how my count starts. It's called your mark out. You don't get your mark out, your count doesn't start, and that's how it starts. And then you got to try and keep in rhythm, spurring his neck as he's bucking and rearing while going through like a violent car crash. And the third ride, I pulled this like super calm bronc called the Punisher, and it's a huge black monster. And I'm getting on him and everything's cool, and I'm just like, okay, this is it. This is gonna be good. I didn't have to ride this bronc. I already rode twice, and the big rides were the next day. But I just wanted to because it's who I am. And so he reared, and I got my mark out, and he bucked twice. Well, on the second buck, my rigging blew out. My hand blew out of my rigging, and I completely rolled over and like 12-6'd my neck. So I landed directly on my neck, and my fucking foot, like I scorpioned myself. And I was like paralyzed there for quite a bit. Like they, had to get fucking sent to the hospital. Like I couldn't move. Nothing was going on. And I couldn't feel anything until they put morphine in me. And then I could feel my toes. And I was like, well, okay, at least I'm not fucking paralyzed.
Yeah, it's got to be a scare, dude.
Yeah, I was like, well, this is crazy how this all happened. But the ligaments that go over my trapezius muscles, every single one of them are ripped.
God
so
damn.
If you notice, I got like a huge neck.
Over your traps?
Because your trapezius like goes down. The ligaments that are all right here.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, you're good. The ligaments that are all right here, they're all torn. So
maybe I don't
fuck.
have ligaments.
well, that's why my neck's so big. That from wrestling, and I have to keep on top of it. But you'll notice, like, if you're around me a lot, I fucking snap my neck, crack.
I don't know what, like, maybe I'm not. Either way, I'm dumb. But I feel like I didn't.
Same.
I didn't know that people rode wild horses like that. Like, I thought you said horses, and then you started describing. I was like, oh, he said bull riding, and then
it's real niche. It's called rough stock. So you got bull riding, saddle bronc, and bareback.
That's insane.
But
that is insane.
After this, I'll show you some pictures. Me busting wild broncs. You won't even recognize me. A whole different human being, a whole different life.
Literally, as you were talking, I was like, oh, he's talking about bulls, which is still insane. Mm-hmm. But then I was like, no, I could have swore he said
seen pictures
horses.
of country bumpkin Brett.
Yeah, he's still country
cowboy hat.
Brett. He's just,
literally out there riding broncos.
Aesthetically, right?
Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
insane, dude. That is absolutely wild.
Anyway,
sorry, back to you.
No, you're good. So that shut that down. It's like, dude, this, and I look like an idiot. Because people already told me, like, you can't be a rodeo rock star. Like, you're just gonna work at Southern Rectors and work in a fab shop and watch college football, and that's what you're gonna do with your life, because that's all life is.
And that's what people told you, or that's what you thought?
Both. And people picked on me a lot, and I used to tell people that I was like, hey, I can fight. I'm good at fighting. And they're like, when you're a little kid in the South, it's different. Everyone looks at you. Everyone that's bigger than you looks at you like, shut up.
Yeah.
Which shit is very different, because, I've experienced a lot of things, like going to New York my junior year, like visiting colleges for wrestling, like, the 130-pound, Italian boy, Bobby Dierna, was like the baddest motherfucker in his whole school. Like, fuck up the giant football players. 130 pounds is like 5'5", but he was just that fucking badass.
Yeah.
He ended up being a 2-time Division II national champion.
Who is this?
Bobby Dierna. And he had a brother that wrestled, Alec Dierna. They were Italians in Rochester, New York. Whipped my fucking ass.
That's who you. What was the connection with you there?
So I kind of went off on a little side tangent. I went and visited colleges for wrestling my junior year, and I met him.
Oh, you met him.
And the difference, like in the deep South, like it don't matter. Like you kind of get picked on for being small.
Right.
Where, dude be 900 pounds, like drinking Mountain Dew, and he's just like, little pussy. It's like,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and it's like, well, like, I can fight, but people would bully me a lot at this company. But of course, like, I'm not going to show anyone, my skills or whatever. So I just stick with lifting weights and I'm just lift weights and I'm looking really good, really shredded, but my purpose is gone at this point. So this 2015, the woman I brought up very early, my grandma, she passes away. And it is the hardest thing that I ever had to deal with in my entire life. And it fucked me up. And I'll never forget, I was at the service and the preacher was making it about God and Jesus. And he was making it about tithing. And he was making it everything except about how awesome my Nana was. Because I could have went up there and told everyone all kind of awesome stories about how fucking spectacular my grandma was.
Yeah, I've been to funerals where they make it a sermon. And it's like,
that's
not what we're here for.
Like, nah, dog, wrong place.
Yeah.
Like
When you said tithing, were they literally taking tithings?
They were talking about the importance of giving money to the church. So this, that, and the other. And that's happened to me at multiple funerals.
That's insane.
But I'm just like, at that time, I'm like,
you're here to honor this person.
Yeah. Like this, and at that point, I like really renounced God. Cause I was like, for a time I was Mormon in high school. I was Mormon for a few years, and before that and after that, I was Southern Baptist. But I completely was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. And I already had an interest in history. And so what happens, this is where it turns into like where it start becoming who I am now. I start getting into indigenous faith because I'm of Germanic descent, just to make it pretty broad. But I'm like, I don't believe in the Bible. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense linguistically, archaeological evidence. None of it adds up with actual science. And like, you know, I'm not bashing anyone that is that way. That's perfectly okay.
No, but at the end of the day, you just don't connect with it.
No, it doesn't, and it doesn't make sense for me.
And that's what I try to tell people. Like, I don't connect with it. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I connect with this.
Yeah, like
this is where my heart's at. I can't force
ethnically, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
like linguistically, DNA. You were talking about haplogroups, mass migrations. You're talking about archaeological evidence. You're talking about the way the world. Like, none of it has anything to do with me, other than the fact that a bunch of people believe in it because that's all they know. And then they don't even do the research on it. But I did, because I'm a little off. So I like to like learn where things come from. So I didn't realize.
Imagine that, dude. Makes you crazy to actually want to learn. That's what what people should do.
Yeah. That's what I say all the time. Like, dude, you believe in this, but you're not going to put research into it.
We were talking about this with Rachel, maybe. They're starting to run together a little bit, but we were talking about this the other day, and I was talking about how I took a Bible class, basically, and that the example I always use is that God created the earth in 7 days, and basically the word days is the wrong translation, and it's actually eras. It's like what it's supposed to say, and the eras could be an era could be anything. It could be 500 years, 1,000 years, 5 days. So it makes it much more believable, I guess, much more flexible that could have actually for real happened. But if you tell most people that believe that the Bible is true, they don't even know that. And that's one very tiny example.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it comes down to perception. Like, okay, say you got 10 Christians that read the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like in different rooms. Most likely they're all going to read different things in a different way.
And they're going to portray
perceive it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to portray it to someone else completely differently, and
that's okay.
That's nothing wrong with, that's my biggest thing is like, I'm only talking about Christianity because it's a podcast with me and I'm expressing myself, but like, I will never bash anyone for what they believe in, because if it makes you be a better person, dude, please fucking do it. It doesn't matter if it's the Hebrew ideologies or if it's worshiping a turtle.
Some Islamic, whatever.
It's cool.
As long as it makes you better.
Yeah, exactly.
And your heart is fully invested in it, Yeah. Don't believe in something because other people tell you to either.
Wholeheartedly.
Your heart needs to be in it. And that's
or
what matters.
Virtue signaling with it, right? Like, oh, I'm Christian, so I get to stand on a moral high point, or I get to do this or do this. And like, it just drives me nuts, but it didn't make sense for me ethnically, especially. I'm like, well, I'm not of Hebrew descent, and Christianity comes from the tribe of the Essenes and the tribes of Judah, which ethnically I have nothing in common. Like this doesn't make sense. Like I have my own stuff. I can't help the way that I was born. I have my own stuff. So why is it so disregarded? And I start looking into it. And then I find out that there's these ancient Germanic gods that are super fucking cool that these Vikings worshipped, and they fucking...
I know about those guys.
Yeah, those guys are pretty cool. Well, I didn't know before that. And there's a guy, I'm going to just give details about him because he is an oath breaker and he doesn't even deserve to have his name on here. But there was this guy in a nearby city who was into strongman. And I was like, that looks cool. I want to get into that. And he was a pagan. So I met him in 2016, I think. And I'm getting big into strongman, trying to get as big as possible, training, doing strongman. And when you've been a little guy your whole life, it's like cool to put on size.
Like, hell yeah.
But I was like so chunky. Like I couldn't even like walk 10 feet without like dying. But I thought I was like the baddest motherfucker.
Yeah.
And
so was 130 the lowest that you ever weighed? Mm-hmm. And then what was the highest you ever weighed?
241.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah,
It's hard to picture.
Oh,
you.
I show you a picture,
God.
dude, and you'll be like, what is that pile of goo?
Dude, I did not see that coming at all. And what's your fighting weight?
175 right now, but I'm going down lower.
Oh, yeah.
But I walk around at like 195, 200.
Oh, yeah.
I think when me and you boxed, it was like you were over 200.
Oh, I was chunky.
Yeah.
I was chunky.
You were like, because I was at 225. You were probably like 210.
Yeah, every bit.
It wasn't a huge difference.
No, it really
It's
was
crazy.
a lot of Modelo. I look at myself, my gut was hanging out. I was like, God damn, what a specimen.
So fighting at 175, do you typically fight people that are taller than you?
Yeah. Everybody I've fought except for one person has been taller than me.
Yeah, that's going to be my problem too. But
Yeah, I just like that's why I'm trying to get down lower. But which really height doesn't bother me because that doesn't make much. But I have super short arms, so I have to work like extra hard. But
I got some long ones.
yeah, it's nice. That
Some
see
long ones.
your height. You can get away with that because your jabs. I'm gonna get off on a tangent.
I love it.
I'll get real deep into fighting.
I'll wrap these suckers up, and you think I'm real far away, but
So I get involved with this guy and I'm learning about paganism. And at the time, this guy knows a lot. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, the ancient Germanic gods, which at the time, they weren't even calling Germanic. They were just the Norse gods. And then one day, he was telling me on Instagram, tag this hashtag so that the guys from Werewolf can see it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is Werewolf?
Yeah.
And so I tagged it. And then I was like, he was telling me, he's like, hey, these guys over here and at Olfheim, check it out. Like they'll look at our post. And I'm like, who the fuck are these dudes at Olfheimer? Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Well, I look it up and I'm like, these dudes are out here fighting, their whole like militant strength culture at the time. It was,
And that was 2016. You were seeing that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like 2017 for me. That started to pique my interest.
yeah, and it was like anything other than any other kind of paganism around. This should be paganism.
Yeah.
like this
Total life reform. Like a great message, man. Something that we both probably appealed to. Like, we're like, holy shit.
absolutely.
Like, that's like the kind of life I want to lead.
Yeah, and that was
What that embodies.
eventually what got us together.
Yeah.
But, I went at that time. I'm like, dude, these guys are fucking awesome, and I started. I stopped doing strongman. I got real big into the Highland Games. I did the Highland Games for a few years, off and on. Did a little bit of strongman here and there. Just ended up winning money from it at one point. But the Highland Games was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But when I went up to Olfheim for the first time, and I just was like, oh, this is what I've been craving. This is what I've been craving since I didn't have rodeo. I just like purpose and like brotherhood. Mm-hmm. And
I thought the same shit.
Yeah, I'm just like, fuck, dude. And the cool thing is people don't understand it unless you're there, but it's like a collective of people that are similar to you, like fighting, lifting, black metal, country music, partying, you know, the old gods, dark gods, light gods, like just it was essentially like if heaven ain't like old fame, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But you know, I got involved with them. I ditched the goober back where he was at, 'cause goober. And I just completely went full into like op werewolf and, you know, total life reform and meeting those dudes. And, this 2016 or 17, the warden or Mike probably killed me for this, the warden especially. Well, it was November 17 or 16 that after experiencing that, I was like, man, there should be something like that down here for people, because tribalism saved my life in a way. Maybe I can try and save other people's lives.
I want to connect to that too, because that's the same thing for me. I've always sought that out, you know. That's why I was big like with the MC world and stuff, because I love that like tribal, like brotherhood stuff, and that ended up being something totally different than what I had been seeking. But it kind of led me, because I saw this aesthetic and I was like, oh, that looks similar.
Yeah,
like, a lot of dudes on bikes, you know, there's same aesthetic, but like there's also this purpose of like, you know, the old gods and, you know, all these other things that like I really appeal to, you know? So I was like, fuck, I got to see what that's about. And I like same here, man. It was just kind of a life-changing thing for me as a man, because there's so many men lack brotherhood and tribalism and stuff. And I think so many need it and they don't even realize it, you know? And they'll be, oh, it's just a bunch of y'all just being boys. And it's like, well, shouldn't we all like just get together and be fucking boys, like wild fucking wolves in the woods, like together? Like that's the problem with men nowadays. They don't have that outlet.
That's exactly the truth.
I truly believe that, because if I didn't, I don't know what the fuck I'd be doing with myself.
Playing video games or something.
Yeah, or doing fucking blow every night downtown. Like, you know, because it just, there's those outlets, right? But I'm not saying I'd be doing that, but I went through that phase, so that was a thing. That was a thing. Yeah. You know, I don't know, just crazy shit. But it just, things wouldn't be the same, man. But like now I've got, you know, we'll get there, but so much purpose.
I feel like tribalism, like just that term and like what it means has been given like a real negative connotation, kind of been twisted like in today's society.
Of course.
Like 9 out of 10 terms that exist, like everything's got a negative connotation to it.
And it sucks because like I was telling this to somebody, but I wish I could keep the guests straight in my head, but somebody recently about this, and like, as you know, I'm 27, right? So like I kind of grew up in this shit. You know, I was in like middle school, high school, 2008, that kind of time, graduated in 14. But my point being is that social media, cancel culture, there's the whole 9 yards of like kind of how everything's taken a turn over the last 10 to 15 years is whenever I was coming up in kind of the most formative times of my life, including early 20s, trying to figure out what kind of man I want to be and that kind of thing. And I have a great dad who I take, you know, example from, and I have a terrible stepdad to take example from too. So, you know, these things have helped me, et cetera, et cetera. But my point is that with the terminology and stuff is, I feel like that other people feel this too, that it's really difficult to like to differentiate which ones have been twisted and perverted and which ones are, you know, which ones haven't, I guess. And also on the back of that, like, I guess like the non-twisted version of it, right? So like when you hear like tribalism demonized and people say you shouldn't be tribal and like, you know, let everybody in all the time, what is your reaction to that with your, you know, given how everything you just said?
No, because I honestly don't. Because at the end of the day, you don't connect with everybody. Like, I don't know. I'm really close to my family. I'm very blessed to have like my family is a tribe as well. Like we're very close, and we all like we take care of each other, and we have mutual respect, and we push each other to be better. And like I had that with my brothers, but like. So I should just bring everybody in that's going to be like negative in my life that I don't connect with. Like, why would I waste my time? Because there's so many people I've come across or encountered in my life, or just in general, that you don't need to be connected with. I know it's not. I know that sounds shitty.
Deserve it.
Yeah, or
you don't deserve.
They drain you.
they will, and what you have, exchanges of energies when it comes to tribalism, not because tribalism, Brett, just like tribalism, Joe, is different than, when we go out here, right? It's different. When it comes to like tribalism, when you talk about the negative connotation of the word, like I fit that. We fit that negative. We fit that group think, that bad, that's not good. That whole, like, we fit all that. We are the bad terminology, but fuck them. Like, fuck you, dude. You don't deserve, we don't owe you anything, right? Like, you don't just get just because the world gives you a free pass to be included in everything and to feel heartfelt for you, you don't get that with us. You got to earn it. And that's the way it should be. But that's looked at it like mean, like, why can't we be a part of y'all? Or why can't y'all explain what y'all do to everyone? Why can't, we just get all this stuff for free, like it's owed. It's like,
it's for us.
Yeah, it's for us. And if you, for those inside the mythos, no explanation is needed, and for those on the outside, no explanation is given. Now, that's not saying like we have our little boys club. Fuck everyone. It's like it's a real esoteric thing, but I'm not going to try to make things super esoteric when they don't have to be. If you feel similar ways than we do, if you're curious and stuff like that, you can reach out and we'll be glad to talk about it. But we don't owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that reach out all the time, and it's funny. Like my buddies, my non-hurry people, my regular like country boy friends from back in Pensacola, they'll tell me like, "Hey, dude, so and so's asking about the shit you're posting," and I'm like, damn, dude, that's crazy. Imagine if they just fucking asked me. Yeah. Because I'd give them the fucking answer. Yeah. But so many people, I don't know what the fuck it is, want to make assumptions, and then I'll just like play it up. You know what I mean? Like, I drink from human skulls and eat human flesh. Like, I do it all.
Real quick, actual point is that I feel like you were describing the other day about how people can come around like to the edge of the circle and like, they want to look in, but they don't want to learn about it.
They don't want to step in the circle. It's easy to stand outside the circle and be like, oh, hell yeah. It's like the paparazzi. They see like some celebrities in the distance and they're having a conversation. They're like, oh my God, guess what? They're breaking up. Divorce is ahead. The babies are being sold. Like, what? And it's like they have no idea. It's the same thing with people when they see what we do. They stand there from the outside and they just make a bunch of fucking assumptions without actually stepping in and being, oh man, this is totally different than what I fucking even thought.
And then I feel like where like some of the negative connotations about some of that stuff comes from, I think it probably actually comes from a place of hurt in those people, because they come, to the edge of your circle and they're not willing to learn it. But the point is that I feel like those people don't really have that. And so instead of making the effort to either learn about your circle or find their own circle that they would fit in with or whatever, instead of doing that, it's easier to just tear down the whole institution, right? Just to say like tribalism in general is bad because you didn't find your spot in it. It's like a victimhood mentality, really.
Especially when you can go back to your house and live vicariously through people like us. Like, what we do may be a little too much for you, but you can go play God of War. You can go fucking watch 300. You can watch Troy, and it's like, dog, we do that all the time.
It's a fact, man. That's our life.
That is our life. Like all that shit you think is cool that you're watching on the TV, or you're playing your little Pokemon PlayStations or whatever they do. And like, we actually live that shit. So you can live vicariously through it. But the thing is like, it's not like we won't explain it. Right. It's just, it's got to be in the right environment. And it's got to be like someone that genuinely wants to learn and is curious, but somebody that's like judgmental. It's like, you're doing your little Satan magic in the woods and eating babies. And it's like, yeah, dude.
Exactly.
Why?
That was the other thing I was going to say that I've told Joe this before, but I noticed that Joe, well, I'm not going to say your password on here now that I'm thinking about that. That's dumb. But let's just say that his password for YouTube, when he sent it to me, it just fucking made me laugh because he uses like 666 in it, right? And it's like, we had this conversation. Actually, I was talking to your dad. That's who I was talking to about that.
I just close my eyes and when I'm sleeping, I wake up and just start drawing 666 everywhere.
I was telling your dad that whenever I saw that I was laughing because we were talking about how people judge you and like everything that we're talking about, and it just makes me laugh because it's like you're trolling, like you trolling, like not. I mean, of course, not about your actual genuine beliefs, but like you said. It's like, and you said you play it up or like,
I definitely play it up.
It's like, dude, it's just fucking, and then the people that don't get the difference between when you're talking seriously or like whenever you're just like trying to get somebody's head to blow off, you know, because and that's what they'll do. Their head will blow right
It's
off.
like, dude, what you don't understand is like when you sacrifice homeless people, like we're gonna do tomorrow, like, and you take the blood and you bathe in it, like it keeps us younger, and that's why me and Joe look so good, and he looks almost as good as me, is from the blood of homeless people. And then when homeless people go disappearing, like no one really
They're serving a purpose. Yeah.
It would be so fitting if this is the first episode that gets taken down.
Yeah, right. Hey, it is what it is, man. Like
why did we get a strike for this? And they said they point to this moment, and I go click on it and watch it, and it's like,
at the end of the day,
oh shit, the part about the no, I get it, I get it. Yeah.
no matter what people spout about like who we are, though, it's like you got to have conviction at the end of the day. I've seen so many people kind of walk away from these things because they're so scared about the pressure they get from the outside, and they're weak. They have no conviction about who they are, because if you truly believed in what you are, then you would just say, fuck it, I'll figure it out. And that's the whole thing. And the thing is, people may not understand it, but I can't tell you honestly why my heart's been called to the path that I'm on. But at the end of the day, once I started letting my heart guide me in life, it put me right where I was supposed to be. Yeah. And I'm happier than ever. And that's the thing. People, if they would just sit there and not worry about what the fuck we're doing and just follow their heart in life, maybe they would find something as special.
But they don't. They follow Fox News. They follow Facebook. They follow CNN. They follow the latest trend. They follow what's the big one right now that I fucking can't stand? The Lenza app, where it's like destroying people's self-images.
Oh, the AI
is that
thing.
big up here?
The AI thing. Oh, it's everywhere. I've seen it. I've seen everybody post it.
Dude, it's
I know what you're talking about. I thought that. Okay, I got you.
It's the new fad right now. That's cool. But
I got on there and I tried to edit it on my own just to look. But then I've seen people pay to get all these packages of all these crazy pictures. I'm like, I'm not paying for this.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
But like to me, I look at it like, oh, this is the new fad. Like, y'all are ruining self-images. Y'all are ruining y'all's own self-images because y'all have set a standard. Like some people are like, no, it just looks cool. And it's like, yeah, because you're looking at things at the base level, but that's not truly what's going on. People are ruining their self-images because they're never going to look like that. Never. And it's cool to have that done up, maybe put up in your house somewhere. Like I would have one of those, like, 10 by 10, of Joe in my house. Like, damn, he's almost as good looking as me. But now it's a vast thing, and like people are setting as their profile pictures, and it's just like y'all are ruining y'all's self-images.
That is crazy.
It made me look. It made me look like Thanos, and I was honestly kind of bummed. I was like, I wish I was fucking Thanos. He's pretty bad.
Like, I mean, I haven't done it, but if I had $12, I'd much rather spend it on like crack or something than doing the damn picture app. Like,
it's honestly like. I'm not hating on it too much, but I get what you're saying. I agree with that 100%. Mm-hmm. They ruined that self-image. Now, do I think it's pretty cool what like technology can do as opposed to like 100 years ago? Like the fact that you can just take these pictures and it'll make this crazy art. Like I think it's pretty neat and fascinating, but I also can live without it. Like it's not fucking important. There's no substance to that. It's just a picture of me that's put in all these different ways. And it's just like, okay, I guess that's all right, but that's not me at the end of the day. That's not genuine.
Yeah.
What's super creepy to me about I'm not like AI's going to end the world, like don't put a robot in my fucking house, like whatever, but necessarily, I mean, I do think that it's super, super scary, genuinely, but somebody posted something the other day and like, they said, I don't know why this caught my eye, but they said that they asked a Midjourney AI, they were like, I asked it for whatever, or requested, or however they put it. And I was like, what is that? What are you talking? Do you realize that you're humanizing it? You asked it. It's a software. Whenever I go edit my fucking videos, whenever I go edit my videos, do I ask Premiere Pro to edit or do I use it because it's a tool? Like, what are you talking about? You asked it and you requested, and then the guy said, he explained he was like getting into semantics about asking versus requesting, and I'm like, that's not my point. Is it's a fucking AI. It's not. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Like, do I ask the hammer to hit the nail? Like, what are you? And it's just, to me, it's honestly creepy. I hate to sound like sick, get off my lawn guy, but it's like, it's creepy, honestly.
No, I mean, it absolutely has merit, and not enough people are bringing that up, but not just with AI, but just with shit in general, and it drives me crazy. So, like, I don't do fads. I'm not even really that big on social media. Like, I post and ghost. Because I get so many messages a day, and it's really hard, like with my anxiety, to like try to get back with everyone. But I just see like the way the world's going, and I'm just like, I don't have it figured out, and I'm kind of a goober, but what the fuck is going on? Like, everything just confuses me.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I don't know where he was going to go with it next, but I'll tell you what I was going to ask you about. And we only have like 15, 20 more minutes left anyways. I'm requesting this, so feel free to go all the way with it. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk about fighting a little bit. So I think maybe that's where you were at in your story too. But you were talking about the Highland Games, and I think maybe you hadn't even gotten to that yet. But how did you?
So in 2000 and
Where we at?
I'll give you a
asked
date.
about fighting.
Speaking about that link I was talking about earlier. So I just texted you. When is your fight? Wait.
Somebody just texted you that?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
This place bugged. You know.
Oh shit, you're muted, Joe.
Oh shit.
I like it better that way. Let's do it again. Joe, try to say something.
Oh.
Try it again.
Bastard. Damn it.
What was that?
My equilibrium.
What the fuck was Brett? Okay, Tapology. Because then I'll be able to tell you.
we literally just were like,
Yeah, we're running out of time,
we were
man.
like circus clowns over here trying to distract while he's looking that up. But yeah, I was like, we only have like 15, 20 minutes left, so I want to hear about the fighting.
Yeah, of course. And I want to hear about the mental health stuff too. We could talk about the tribalism stuff all day. And like the thing is, Brett's going to be back eventually, and we'll talk.
There's so much.
People know his story, like, well, you know, most of it, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now next time we'll touch on so many different things too.
Yeah, because just the last few years have been wild. In 2020, what is the 8th month?
August.
So, 3 months before that, I got doxxed, and I could not coach at the high school anymore for some nonsense, just pure nonsense, talking about how people just don't know shit about anything. They just put negative connotations on everything that's not like super fatty at the moment. And that's what happened to me. And I was really angry one day. And I remember calling my buddy that I work for, Heath Herndon. I was like, set me up a fight. He's been amateur fighting for a while.
Your your Instagram or something got doxxed?
Yeah. My everything, my IP address. But, you know, I don't have a computer or even know how to turn one on, but my IP address essentially with Apple.
Somebody did that because they took something you said wrong or something?
Yeah, it was just some nonsense. I won't go into details about it, or we can talk about it off air. But, but I contacted him and I was like, I want a bare knuckle pancration fight because I know I can do this. I don't even want to fight MMA with gloves. I want to fight pancration with no gloves. He's like, Brett, it's going to be hard to get you a fight as an amateur in pancration. Like, that sounds terrifying.
What's the word you're saying?
Pancration, which it's not what I'm explaining. That's what we thought it was, but like it's bare knuckle fighting with special rules like palm strikes and shit.
Is that like the old English box?
No,
this is pancration's actually technically MMA, bare knuckle in ancient Greece, but the new term is some form of shoot fighting. It's no one does it, but that's what I had in my head. I want a bare knuckle fight. And he was like, we're not going to do that, but I'll set you up with an MMA fight. And we got like 6 weeks to figure this out. So I took a fight and had zero striking. And I trained with him. And then I trained at a gym that was near my house a few weeks. And I was the worst striker in the world. I swear I was the worst striker. I've got a lot of fast twitch muscle fibers. So I'm super crazy explosive, super crazy athletic. But I didn't know how to punch or strike, but my wrestling was top notch from everything I was explaining earlier, and not mention being a coach there for a while. So my wrestling is like top notch.
Which in MMA is a fucking cheat code.
And that's exactly what happened in my fight. So
fucking cheat code strike.
You can actually find the fight. It's on YouTube, versus Ellis Cofield. And it was both our debuts. And I remember I got in there and I was like, I hopping around through like what looked to be a kick, through what looked to be a fucking jab. And he like threw a jab at me. And then I was like,
you're watching it and you're like, I'm pretty sure that was.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is. But then I'm like, okay, I want this fight to end real quick. Well, I shoot so fast, like it's like a flash. And he threw a leg kick and I was like, oh, okay. Shot, caught it. And I went, because I wrestled Greco as well. So I caught it, I wrapped my arms around his lower waist. And now in Greco, you throw him over your head where he lands. You throw him over your head, he lands on his head. His feet are at 12 o'clock. That's a 5-point throw. It's a big throw. So that's exactly what I did. I just lifted him up and I spiked him on his neck. And he just like kind of seized up a little bit. And I just got mount. And I just beat the dog shit out of him.
I was about to say beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, and then I choked him out with, can't even call it a rear naked choke. It was just like a redneck backwoods, just hick choke. But I won in the first round. And then...
Who was it against?
Ellis Cofield. Yeah, you find out. Just look up Brett Williams MMA or Brett Widowmaker Williams on YouTube. You'll find it. So that was 2020. And I kept training to fight in MMA. And then the gym I was at, I was getting ready to move down a weight class to 170, which is welterweight in MMA, I think. And the coach, everybody's getting ready for a fight.
Damn, I just want to double down and triple down on fucking how goddamn scary you look. Holy son of a bitch. Good God. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
Have you seen him naked?
He's far less intimidating.
That's crazy.
That's all I've been thinking about this whole podcast.
Interrupt you, but whenever I saw you in the ring, I was like, is that... Well, the other guy's black, so that's got to be him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But,
So,
show the fucking DDT. And the whole reason I did that is because I was like, all right, I'm tired of this. I'm just going to end this real quick. And that was the best way I know how. Well, this other gym, I was training and you know, trying to get ready for this next fight. And the coach told me, he said, Brett, I'm not going to let you fight. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I can beat up the other dudes that are fighting. I've already fucking fought.
He's like, wait, what do you mean you're not going to let me fight? I can beat them up.
Yeah, he was like, Brett, you're not ready to fight. You haven't been here long enough. And I was like, dude, you're going to tell me a grown-ass man I can't fight when I've already fought?
At a new gym or something?
Yeah, a new gym. And I was like, fuck it, I'll just do jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's fun. Gi jiu-jitsu is a lot of fun for me because it's something different. I've been doing no-gi jiu-jitsu, kind of like wrestling for fucking like 10, 12 years. And I get big into jiu-jitsu. And there's this common theme. And I'm very fortunate, but in my entire life, no matter what I've done, I've always just blown through it, like excelled way faster than normal kids. I was good at everything I ever put my hands on. Jiu-jitsu is the same way. And this is at the beginning of RP because I remember.
I remember that too because I think that's what you were doing at the time.
Yeah, I came down to a tournament.
Mm-hmm. I think it was my second tournament. My first tournament, I didn't even know how to put on the fucking gi. I had that bitch on like all fucked up, didn't know how to tie my belt. And I went out there and took first place. Hell yeah. Like just mauling dudes to death.
Didn't you go to one and his opponent didn't show up?
No, that was an MMA fight. Or no, his opponent, it was a weird fucking situation.
Oh, that was,
that guy. No, you said he was being like an asshole. He
freaked the fuck out.
Yeah, and he did some crazy shit.
Yeah, that shit was.
But it went from a lot of jujitsu, but I've got like a bad back, and I've had a bad back. But being fat doesn't help, obviously. And I kept doing jiu-jitsu. Well, then like combat jiu-jitsu came around. And I was like, this is the perfect sport for me. I will knock fucking people out in combat jiu-jitsu. Like with my wrestling skills and how much power I have. Like I was born with crazy power. But like my dad was a pitcher, like a high-level pitcher. Like I've got that fast twitch muscle fiber.
Yeah.
And I got into combat jiu-jitsu. And then that one fucking crazy thing happened with my opponent, like freaked the fuck out, like after I collar tied him. And
can we hear a short version of that? Because it's hilarious.
Okay. So, what's the funny part is I walked out to Triple H's theme dressed like the Triple H.
I walked him out.
Yeah, you did. You're the only fucking dude that walked me out.
That's so hard.
And this dude was like 60 pounds heavier than me. He was like 6'4", giant. Didn't fucking make weight, didn't even weigh in. Super pissed off. And they paid for him to come because I sell a lot of tickets and like I could not do something, and I had my little dress up like the Triple H. Well, the dude, you know, I can tell like he can't grapple. Like this dude don't even know how to stand. This dude's a, you know, brawler, kickboxer, whatever the hell he was. And he's getting a little rough. Well, you can't strike standing up. It's only on the ground. And he's getting a little antsy. So I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, I don't care how big you are. I wrestled for like 12 years. I collar tie you, I'll snap you in half. And that's what I did. It's like, just collar tied him. It's just a normal move. If you, maybe a video somewhere, I wasn't hitting him. Well, he freaked the fuck out. And he was like, you gonna fucking hit me? You gonna do it? And he starts freaking out. And then the ref has to step in. And I'm like, wanting to continue.
Didn't he swing at you or something? I thought I remember him slapping you or hitting you or something.
Right before that, he actually like swings at me and like hits me in my mouth. And I'm like, and I start bleeding. And I'm like, yeah, standing. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is not this. Like, we agreed to do this. Like, what? Like, you can't control yourself. Yeah. And then the ref stops it, and then he's just like freaking the fuck out, like fuck you, dog, fuck all y'all, fuck you, fuck you, and like just uncontrollable. And the crowd is freaking out.
Oh, I'm over on the side. I'm like, you stupid bitch.
This guy,
I'm mad.
Like he's a fucking. But what it was is he felt my power, and you know I'm way smaller than him, and he was like, oh god, like he's total cuck shit.
Like I'm about to get knocked out by a guy 60 pounds.
Yeah. Wearing a fucking Speedo, you know, like that's the worst. And I got like an extra huge cup on. So it's just like dong like this, but he gets booed out of there. He like threatens to fight the promoter and all kind of shit. And that was just like a big escapade. And I was so fucking upset from that. And it bothered me so goddamn much. I had to do something to make up for it. Remember how I was upset I wasn't for it? Because, you know, him and Jesse came down. And I just had a poor performance. And it's not my fault. In that fight? Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a poor showing.
You didn't get to perform.
Yeah, I didn't get to show. You were just
upset about it in general.
Yeah, I was devastated. And that's like my thing. And so... one of my good friends, I'm not going to say his name on this podcast because of whatever reasons, but he has an interest in like old school pugilism that he's shown me before, but we wanted to stage a bare knuckle fight with me and another person. And it was me, Joe and I, the first time that did it. We didn't do it exactly the right way, but we did it good enough way that it was like
free balling in some kilts.
Yeah. In fucking freezing ass weather.
I remember standing over a fire trying to heat my nuts up.
Yeah, dude, it was so bad.
Ember popping up would have fucked your shit up.
Hey man, it was okay because shit was cold.
Yeah, it was fucking rough. Well, I did that, but
so that's what you did because the match went the way that it did?
Not exactly. I did that more. That was for the gods because it was for now when me and Joey Torres did it, it was to get that back.
Yeah.
Because
Jesse and I did it that same day.
I'm
a little bit confused. So this is the same day that the dude freaked out?
No. This is months later.
This months later.
But you were still upset about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eating me alive.
Gotcha.
Kind of like I'm being ate alive about most recent fight. But I bare knuckle fought and I was like, I can do this. And and a lot of people don't realize this. This is news for a lot of fucking people. People from high school know I was bare knuckle fighting for fucking years. Like I've got that crazy experience. I don't have shit else, but I've been bare knuckle fighting and wrestling, and like I have that skill set. I know what knuckles feel like. I know how to fight differently, and I was already naturally gifted at bare knuckle fighting. Like I already had a good skill set, and so at that point I was like, I want to try to get into the BKFC. And that was my goal at the time. I was like, fuck this jiu-jitsu shit. My back hurts. And I just wasn't, I loved the team that I was at. It was a great gym, great family gym, but it wasn't going to get me to another level.
And how big was BKFC at that time?
It was
pretty big now.
It's huge now, but like it was still pretty niche back then. But I was like, I want to do that because that's the only way I can bare knuckle fight professionally.
Yeah.
Well, the BKFC is never going to sign me. they don't know who the fuck I am. I'm just a fucking traveling gypsy boy, fucking bare knuckle fighting and doing pagan magic in the woods. And I was like, I have to glove box to build my resume. So I started glove boxing and had more bare knuckle fights underground. And I started piling up win after win after win. And it was like first round finishes, first round knockouts. And I ended up as an amateur, I went 11-1 with 9 knockouts, TKOs, and 1 loss by unanimous decision at a Sugarburt boxing championship under USA Boxing in Atlanta. And he beat me fair and square.
I fucking see you though. Good shit.
Yeah. It's pretty, it worked out well in my favor. I mean, I was taken very well care of as far as helping build me correctly. And then I would like knock somebody out in like 45 seconds. They're like, why don't you fight somebody good? Why don't you fight somebody your own skill? So and it's like, because I started training. I just started training 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like this guy's been training for a year. I knock him out in 30 seconds and it's like, when is he going to fight somebody? It's like, what the fuck do you want me to do? I've been training for a couple of months. Like I'm fighting people that have way more experience than me. Like they don't have the best records, but goddamn, like I just started training.
Dude, I have to ask you this. First of all, it's 456. Just for the
So yeah, we got to cut out a few.
But this random as fuck. But like, what do you think about Jake Paul fighting? Not the whole YouTube boxing scene in general, but specifically him with his. He seems to be wanting to take it more seriously. Whatever.
I hate Jake Paul with a burning passion, but I hate him as a person. But what he's doing for the sport and what he's putting in the work.
Yeah,
he's a legit up and comer.
Well, what you were saying reminded me of that, and the reason why I brought that up was because of that. Because a lot of people give him shit, and he does. A couple of them are bad, obviously opponents, but.
That's boxing. That's fucking people don't. They don't understand shit from fuck. Like
it's always the spectators.
Over the last like year and a half or so with the 2 Woodley fights and the Silva fight, it's like, dude, 100%. So, anyways, my point.
It's the same fucking shit, dude. And I've heard it a lot.
Just started.
It's like when's he gonna fight somebody? It's like the dude just started fucking training. Like people were telling me that when you gonna fight someone good, Brett? You knock everyone out in 1 round. It's like
the people that say that though, like when are you gonna fight anybody ever?
Yeah, it's like man, it's real fucking easy to sit in them stands. I promise you, it's real easy. I've done that too. Drink beer and fucking have your own opinion, but to get in there, and especially with somebody like me that deals with like severe. Generalized anxiety disorder and other things like going on in my head. Like it's tough. Like I get anxious, like being in a Kroger sometimes. Yeah. Imagine fucking fighting on national television. Mm-hmm. But that essentially how that whole amateur career went through. And then I signed with Scott Farley from Goat Combat Agency, secured a fight with the BKFC. Had a masterful performance, first round knockout, and I thought
even by your standards, you say masterful, yeah.
Do I?
I said even by your standards, you say masterful.
I was a great.
I think so because of my technique wise. Because there's videos that I have never posted them, but everything we were working is exactly how the fight went. And when a master plan between my coach, my team, and me, it all plays out. It's master performance.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, I thought that things were going to blow up after that. And my popularity did, but couldn't get a fight. Can't get a fight. And I'm working out of town for a living. And I'm eating at a buffet every day. I got a lot of per diem. I'm going to bed at 5:30, waking up at 3. I have a horrible domestic situation that is, we'll talk about off air. My life is falling apart. At one point I was homeless. Not because I can stay anywhere, stay with anyone if I wanted to, but I just needed to separate myself because I was in such a bad shape. And
this is 2020.
This is like recently.
This is within,
right?
Yeah. This is
this year.
Yeah, roughly this year. Yeah,
gotcha.
And just not being able to have a fight, horrible domestic situations, and just like battling like. Severe mental illness and fucking just trying to exist. And I accidentally get a pro glove fight. And I say accidentally because that's not what I was looking for. It's just this guy. I was talking on a forum, and I was like, I'm fixing to start calling all these motherfuckers out in bare knuckle because it's fucking bullshit. Can't give me a fight. And my last 4 opponents, I accepted yes to. And I didn't even post about this. I told you this, but I accepted a fight on a 5-day notice at heavyweight in Denver, Colorado for the BKFC Denver card. At fucking insane. Heavyweight. I said, give me that shit. And they were like.
And it's the same heavyweight as everything else, right?
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
This is probably 240 pound, 50 pound guy.
Yeah. He was a monster from the mountains.
Boxing.
Yeah. But I was like, I'm a
psycho.
And people were like, Brad, dude, that's too much.
I'm concerned for your health.
You're like, I agree, but I need to get in there.
I was like, look, I'm just as concerned for his health, right? Like, because that's what you're clearly talking about. Because I'm worried about him. Yeah. Like that poor guy's gonna get it.
Yeah.
And then this fucking dude denies the fight.
No way.
Yeah, I got all the text messages. Dude, I got so much shit that I could fucking expose motherfuckers for.
Yeah.
I've got dudes that said they accepted the fight, but they blocked me on fucking social media. I got dudes that say they accepted the fight, but take other fights. I got screenshots from all this shit, dude.
Heavyweight?
Yeah, at Denver, the BKFC Denver card. Yeah, some fucking mountain monster. Mountain fucking teddy bear is what he was, pussy. But
that is fucking
call him out.
I'm not training like I'm supposed to. I'm doing my own little workouts, just doing my road work, and I'm eating millions and jillions of calories every day. I'm not living the life I should. And I took the pro glove fight, and everything that could have went wrong. My diet, my training was all fucked up. I messaged the guy I was fighting, and I was like, hey, dude, I'm not gonna be able to make this weight. Can we bump it up? And I was like, I'll pay you, like out of my own money. And he was like, no, it'll affect my performance too much. And I was like, fuck. Like, there's no way.
Which one is this?
Most recent one.
Yeah, that's simple.
So I'm dying, like trying to cut this weight, which I should have started way earlier, but it's fucking hard when you live life on the road and you can't train like you're supposed to and do all these things like you're supposed to and live a life like a professional athlete. And I was just like, I just got to rely on my power. And the weight cut nearly fucking killed me. Like, I don't know how I made it to Mississippi. And then I weigh in, and my body is not really like accepting the fluids. And then I went to eat, and I fucking ate terribly. I did not eat what I was supposed to eat, like I did for my BKFC fight, like I did for some of my amateur fights. And I spend all night throwing up. I get no sleep. My neck has a crick in it that morning, but I spent most of the night fucking throwing up the night before I'm supposed to fucking fight. I have no one with me. And
for real? You're by yourself?
Yeah, which is weird because I always have an entourage.
Yeah, I was going to say, you don't have a team with you or coach or anything?
I know, it sucked because that's like the only fight I haven't made ever. And like,
he's like, I have no one with me. He like gives a little side eye.
Well, there's even goobers there that got like a whole entourage. And I'm like, how did I fuck around and do this? And a week before, I found out about a situation with a person that I was dating. And in this particular situation is like shit that ruins marriages, shit that like domestic violence happens over. Like that happened to me. And my brain was so fucked. That was one of the things. But I'm also fucking like throwing up. I can't fucking get it together. That morning I wake up, I got a crick in my neck. I'm trying to eat. My body can't get loose. And my coach shows up and I go to hit pads and nothing is right. It's like I never fought a day in my life. I'm trying to hit pads. Nothing's coming together. And I'm like really concerned. Like what happened to me? I was fucking.
Just one of those days you just didn't have it.
Everything that was going wrong could have went wrong. And mentally it was killing me. Where like 2 weeks before that, I'm like ice cold in the gym. I'm talking about like completely fucking different animal. So slick. And so we show up to the fight and getting ready. Well, I'm nervous, and when I'm calm, it's bad when I'm calm. Like I'm bad news for anyone. Like my BKFC fight, I was calm as fuck, dancing, laughing, having a good time.
Yeah.
This fight, I wasn't. I was a nutcase, and the thing is like I should have been. I was an 83% favorite by knockout in the first round on Tapology. And like, that's how, and then I was like a 12% unanimous decision. Like the guy had like less than 5% chance to win, which a lot of my fights have been that way, but that's so much pressure on me. And I'm already like, something's off. Nothing's been going right today. I've been throwing up. I'm sick. I'm tired. You know, I got shit on my mind. Well, I'm getting my hand wrapped. And then the guy comes in and tells us my hand's not even fucking wrapped yet. He's still working on my right hand. And he's like, Brett, you got 5 minutes till you walk. I don't have my kilt on. I don't have my groin guard on. I don't have my fucking boxing shoes on. I have not warmed up. I have not stretched.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm still getting my fucking right hand wrapped. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And, you know, luckily my coach was like, you know, we'll give you 10 minutes. So I get my shit on. I am, at this point,
You're like rushed.
Freaking the fuck out.
well, I'm freaking the fuck out.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
freaking the fuck
nothing is going right. Everything has went wrong. And then my coach is like telling another guy that I train with, Brandon, to spar me. And I can't move. My body's not in sync. I'm not calm, not relaxed. I'm not ready to kill. Everything's been fucking rushed. I feel like my shoes aren't fitting right. Like my kilt's off center, and I just start doing sprints and fucking, I can't hit pads. Nothing's working. My arms aren't working. And I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. I needed like 45 minutes, honestly, but you can't do that. Like the show's got to go on. So I'm lucky I got fucking 10 minutes. And then the music goes. I don't feel the music. I don't feel anything. I get in there and I just don't feel it at all. I'm like, I'm still sick. I'm tired. You know, my brain is so frazzled. I'm like, this is what you got to do. You got to do what you've done so many times. You got to set up the uppercut, the right uppercut, or you got to set up the overhand. The overhand is what puts them away. That puts them in the coffin.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yes,
it puts them in the coffin. That or the left hook.
I love that. Oh, I love the left hook too.
Yeah,
Let's go.
those are my money punches. But
To the body, left hook to the body. Oh yeah, I love the left hook to the body.
But there was a couple times in the first round. There's one time watching the video that I had him on giraffe legs, but I just completely lost my mind because I was like, there's no way with the way I'm feeling that I can outbox this guy. I cannot box this guy. And when I say box, I mean box, not fight. I'm like, I got to fist fight this guy. And
You got to turn it into a brawl.
yeah, which is what I've done before, but it just sucks because I know that there's videos on me that I can show you where you're like, that's fucking you, like dancing around with a jab and shit, like moving and super slick. But my everything was so fucked up for me. And then I gassed myself trying to put him away, and he's fucking durable. God damn, that guy was durable. And all props to him that he stood up to some of my shots where most men get put down real quick. So I knew that it was just going to be a fucking nonstop, just ugly fucking fist fight. And that's what it was for 12 minutes. You know, I feel bad. Like I would headbutt him a lot, but you know, in the BKFC, and I would grab behind his head, and the refs were getting pissed off at me. He was like, you got to quit doing this. You got to quit doing this. And I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. I'm used to bare knuckle.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say that's got to be difficult just going from sport to sport to sport.
It definitely is, because it's a whole different pace. It's a whole different style. The timing's different. Everything's fucking different. Not a lot of people know that.
And that didn't help much with what was going on with you that day either.
No, everything, like I said, every fucking thing that could have went wrong. And then after the fight, the first judge scored it in my favor. The second one scored it in his favor. And the third one declared it a draw. And I was just like crushed. You think a draw is worse than a loss? No, but for me, it felt like a loss. My opponent was very happy, and I'm very happy for him too, because he had like a 2-year layoff. He doesn't have a great record. You know, he's been through a lot of shit. He did shit the wrong way, but like he turned his life around. And like you go out and you're fighting the goddamn Widowmaker, and you look me up on the internet, dude, and I'm just putting people in coffins and shit. And like you went to a draw with this guy. You took some of my hardest punches. Like I said, there's sometimes in the videos that I had him on giraffe legs, but then I would smother my punches. But when you're fatigued, it doesn't matter how fucking skilled you are. Like all that shit goes out of the window, and it just has been killing me ever since. So Since then, I've essentially moved to a new gym. I'm working back in town, trying to get my life together, and yeah, just trying to see what's next. But like early February, I think I'm professionally glove boxing again, and I could go to bare knuckle. I could pursue that really hard, which nothing's guaranteed, but this next card should be in Pensacola. So I'm not going to not fight in fucking Pensacola. Yeah. Like,
of course.
I'll make money, and I'll be able to, if I do everything right, I'll be able to show people like just how good I can box.
And just to be 100%
It's like a redemption
clear,
thing too, you know, based off that last performance, it gives you an opportunity to like show people, hey, that was a bad fucking day. Let me show you what I'm really capable of.
Yeah. That's what it is for me too. Cause people look at that and it's like, oh, Brett hasn't changed none. Like Brett's just a bare knuckle fighter. Like Brett can't box. Brett sucks. Like when it comes to the sport of boxing, like don't get me wrong. Like everyone tells me I'm a great bare knuckle fighter, and I know I'm a great bare knuckle fighter. Proven it time and time again, but you know, I got something to prove to myself.
Yeah.
And redeem myself for that showing.
Well, brother, I have no doubts you're going to make that fucking happen. And I'm going to be there.
That one's going to be dope.
Going to fucking be there, dude. We're going to bring the entourage. That's for sure, man. Hey.
We haven't talked about this in a long time, but it's like a dream of mine to put on a card. Mm-hmm. You know, like I say, put on a card.
Yeah.
Like I know what I'm doing. But to put on a card and have like the businesses that are a part of it, you know, like that are sponsored for. Like RP would be like a presenting sponsor of the event, but then he would also fight on the card. Mm-hmm. And then like my business would be a sponsor, and then I would fight on the card. But then like you could fight on the card and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, we just have something really cool going on. You probably couldn't do that because you're professional, so it'd probably be like you can't cross back over into like amateur, could you?
No.
Yeah,
could you call it an exhibition?
It'd be my corner.
Not as professional because I've got money.
You'd be my corner, man.
I would be.
Well, there you go.
Corner y'all boys.
That works.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
We gotta be there for it at least.
Yeah, dude. But no, we're definitely gonna come support you, man. But at the end of the day, dude, like I fucking hate to even cut it because like there's so much more we could cover, dude. There's so much more. But like that means, I mean, you're gonna come back.
Yeah.
Obviously, your family, and you know, I'll be seeing you soon, and we'll go into like a whole new arena of things because it just that time runs short, man. But at the end of the day, you know, you shared a fucking powerful story. You've been through hell, but you're still here. You're still kicking, bro, and you've overcome a lot, and you're just still charging forward. And you're honestly one of the main definitions of relentless pursuit. When I told I was like, dude, this guy is fucking relentless pursuit. Like you embody that. You're here, and man, it's just such a cool story, dude. And you're just gonna keep crushing it. I'm so proud of you.
Appreciate it, brother.
Fuck yeah. But anyways, I guess we'll close out, and until next time, Brett, you'll be here. And you got anything to say?
No,
Shit, that was a weird.
Joe's about as bad as outros as
Dude, outros. I'm just good in the middle.
I just, you know, I mean, basically, like, how do I put it? I am so good looking. That's all I had to say.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. Talk to you soon. Shit. God, we could just go on forever.